Coach, let's begin with the exit interviews and meetings that you do with all the players. I mean, what a grueling process that must be to talk to everybody in depth, but I also imagine that there's some pretty hard and straightforward conversations that happen there at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a long day, but you get through it, and it's an important day. You reflect not just on the players, but myself. I want to know how our coaching staff can improve, how myself can improve from the players, and there were some direct messages from us and myself of where we need to get to be better next year.
And so you mentioned your first go-around as a head coach at the NHL level. You've done this job before, but not here at the highest level. What is the self-reflection? I don't want to say evaluation. What's the self-reflection after this first tour?
You know, I think what I noticed, and it's not like it was eye-opening too much, but it's usually one player there, two players here that win or lose you a hockey game, and it's a fine line between winning in this league, and it's tough to win in this league. It's hard to win in this league, and getting our players to have a better understanding of what it takes to win in this league will be the next step we have to take.
All right, let's make this very clear. Hockey guy, media guy. Media guy looks at it and says, well, if the Sharks are a little bit better without the puck next year, that might be the first step towards the results. Is that fair?
Yeah, fair to say. Again, I think it starts with our puck play coming out of our back end and being able to execute a little bit more at a little bit more high of a percentage. And now we're not in our defensive zone as much. So for sure we have to be better without the puck in our defensive zone and through the neutral zone, really in all three zones. But, I think we did some good things this year. You take away our wins and losses, and I think we took a step forward. Was it a big giant step? No, but it was a step in the right direction. Now we get to take that big step.
The one-goal games are like the double-edged sword because on one hand, a lot of them were losses, but on the other hand, maybe that's one of the improvements, and maybe that's the next step next season. If you were to be a team next year that won a bunch of one-goal games, you'd probably feel like this group has some character.
Yeah, for sure. And you get some confidence from that, and you get some experience of doing it and doing it time in and time out of when you're in that situation. So that would be a big emphasis. Even overtime, I think we had 12 overtime losses or 11 overtime losses where that's an area we can improve in. Our 3-on-3, our 4-on-4. Again, we'll meet as a coaching staff and really dive in and into a lot of different areas of where we can improve, what we want to change, what we want to tinker with, what we liked, what we didn't like, and go forward. But between that, the one-goal games, our special teams, if we can improve those areas, those are now more wins, and now we're looking at a different position.
Hey, speaking of the coaching staff, and like we mentioned, your first go-around as a head coach, how did they support you this year?
Yeah, big, we don't realize, but we're with each other, 18 hours a day almost some days. So it's a grind for myself and our coaches, and we're all in this together. And from Doug to Wise to Alms, Spearsy, or Nick and Cody, we're a very tight-knit staff. We're a close staff where there's a lot of respect there. There's a lot of support from everyone that, and there's times where our penalty kill let in a couple, and, we have to be there for Doug. And there's times when our power play doesn't come through there, and we're helping Wise. And, and there's those guys supported me a lot of going through my first season in the National Hockey League and the ups and downs and the frustrations and where we're at. It's not easy on anyone. So, I'm very thankful for such a great staff.
And the ping pong champion of the coaching staff was?
Yeah, Spearsy and Ohms got me and Wise. So I got to live with that all summer now.
See, I actually didn't know. That wasn't really a setup to put you down. I'm sorry about that. I know this next question is more of a Mike Greer question, so I want to take it from that context. But as this team gets built for next season, and especially through free agency, I understand the draft the next couple of years, a lot of high first and second round picks, but in Sharks seasons, off seasons past, it was about, all right, how do we get under the cap? This year, it's going to almost be, how do we even get to the floor? There's going to be a lot of spending. If you have some input on what you'd like to see built for this team in free agency, what are the types of things and players maybe you think could complement what you already have?
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good idea of what we need, and Mike will kind of attack that. But obviously it starts with competitive people and really good people, and then we can continue to grow this thing with some high-end hockey skill and size and speed and puck playing ability. So again, we need to really zero in on some guys that are competitive, that are great guys in our locker room that want to be here, and then we'll start getting those types of players and those guys that can do certain things. So we'll see how the summer shakes out. We're excited about it. Again, we have the draft coming up here. It's going to happen very quickly, and we'll go from there.
So you need basically 6 more Tyler Toffoli's. That would do.
That would do, for sure. And Wenbergs and whatnot. So and Mario's, the guys that are competitive, and but we have a good foundation, and we got to build around it.
Looking at Macklin's game from this year, if somebody were to say, well, he'll get better to next year, I'm not even sure where he improves, how he improves. You probably have a better answer to this. How does somebody like that, who impressed so many, take a next step?
Yeah, I think, and he's taken, obviously we saw a special player, and he's done some really special things, and he can do special things. And I thought he got better defensively throughout the year. The big thing for me, and it's something that Mac and I talked about, was finding more patience in his game, whether that's on the 6-on-5, whether that's on the offensive zone, whether that's late in your shift, whether that's putting himself better positions not to get hit. So there's some areas that we continue to kind of push and get better at, and he has an understanding of that. I think he continued to work on his shot and finding his accuracy in his shot and not having to shoot it through the goaltender sometimes. So he's got a pretty good plan. He's a self-driven kid. Yeah. He's got a great foundation. He's got a good routine and how he wants to improve. I mean, look, he was out skating the next day after our last game of the year. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. I also want to make sure that outside this team, people obviously are going to focus on 2 and 71 for obvious reasons, but there were so many other players, I think, I don't want to say discovered this year, but that really kind of established themselves. Colin Graff, Shakir McMadoulin. I loved when Cagnoni was up here for a couple of games. Cam Lund as well, too. How do you see that next complementary group to come up maybe and get some more time and experience next year? I don't want to bury them in terms of attention, because I think they're equally exciting to what's coming.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously Graffer did a really good job. He came up here and surprised us, had a good training camp, went down and worked on the things that we asked him to work on. He gained trust in our coaching staff. Muck really took a really big jump after the Four Nations break there and stepped on it and had an understanding of how he needs to play in this league and was confident. So those 2 guys, like you said, really jumped out to us. And then there's guys coming. We saw Cam Lund at the end of the year. He's going to come back a different player just from going through these 11 games. And, there's obviously guys that have just joined the Barracuda and Musty and Chernyshov who will now come back for their third training camps. And I have an understanding of what this organization's all about. So if you're a fan, you should be super excited about the future and the players that are coming.
I've seen a couple different players be named captain of this team over the years. Seen the process, familiar with that. I've got in my mind like 4 different ways this could go. I think the main thing and the main takeaway, though, to get from you right now is that no matter what happens, it's going to take some time for this process to play out. How do you see the process of figuring out what the team does next?
Yeah, I think I'll talk to Mike, the next couple of days, especially, and then as the summer goes on, and we'll see where it leads us. And obviously, it's a big hole to fill. Cooch was a special player for a long time. He was our captain, and wasn't around as much this year, but he was still helping our young players and being a very good influence for them. So those are conversations we'll have as the summer goes on.
All right, 2 more things. I think next year, looking at it already, you probably have the feeling of you don't know what the quantification of this is, but you do need to make a tangible jump, right? And not just for the outsiders, but also for people in this room. They want to see that the progress you all have been making actually becomes something they can put their hands on.
Yeah, for sure. It's a result-driven business, and we obviously got to start winning some more hockey games. None of us, I think, from Mike and his staff to our staff to the players, want to go through this type of season again. It was tough. It was frustrating. There has been some tough moments throughout the season of losses when we're in games. So for sure, we got to take the next step, and that's winning more hockey games.
All right, last thing here. You got a little summer assignment. Congratulations, by the way, on being named coach of Team USA. Where does this even start? Because you've been so busy with the NHL team. Do you now start to put in the work in preparation for the World Tournament?
Yeah, so right at it. Get prepared for getting ready for meetings and talking to our, Jeff Kelty, who's the GM of the team, pretty much, twice a day right now as far as building the roster. It's a lot. You try to put it to the side the last month of the season and work on just Shark stuff. But when there was a day off, it was more USA Hockey, trying to get prepared a little bit there. And now that the season's kind of over, we're doing meetings here, so you're kind of juggling both jobs in a sense. But I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be it's a great tournament. I've been there before with Quinny as an assistant coach. It's been since 1933 since the U.S. has won this thing. The big message is it's time. It's time for us to win the tournament. Obviously coming off 4 Nations, the Olympics is the following next winter. So I'm excited for the tournament. I'm excited to get over there and get to work and see if we can win a gold medal.
Imagine you coaching, trying to shut guys named Eklund and Celebrini down. I mean, it's counterintuitive.
I already told those two we're going to they'll have targets on their back.
Take it easy on your coach. Appreciate this. Have a great summer. Love to keep in touch with you, and obviously best of luck at the tournament.
Thank you. Thanks, Brodie, for everything.